Hello there, this is RomWills coming back at you with yet another video. Once again, it is Sovereign Saturday. Being a problem solver is powerful. Being a problem solver. And one of the things that if you're going to be a sovereign man is you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. They're going to come up. But see, here's where being a problem solver is powerful. You want to get to the point you can solve most of your problems. And if you can't solve something directly, you know who to go to solve the problem. But you don't want to be in a position where you sitting around waiting for somebody else to take care of it. I don't care what it is. Let me use a very good example. A job bringing in money. You don't want to be in that position. You really don't, where you have to look to somebody else to hire you. Every man, even if he has a job, even if he's making six figures, and I said this in my book, Nice Guys and Players. I wrote this in the late 90s. And I said six figures then. Even if you're making six figures, have something you can fall back on. Or if you need more money, what can you do? That's a primary way. That's a primary way. Because I've seen a lot of men and women, they get messed up because they don't have money coming in. They don't have any skills. They don't have any options. You know, I always joke about having 1,000 jobs, but I was always looking for a way to make money. Now, it could be another job. Personally, I say have some type of business, some type of hustle. It could be a side hustle. It could be a full business. Have some way that you can bring in money. That's a big problem right there. And then it's just the problems of life. I wish we could go through life without any issues, but we're going to have some problems. I don't care who you are. I don't care. You could be the scion of a billionaire family and you still going to have some problems. You're going to have something. You want to be in a position where you can solve the problems you can. Remember my definition of being sovereign. My definition, controlling what you can, having leverage in other areas. So you want to control whatever problems come up. You want to be the man who can solve those problems, especially if they happen to you. Now, if you're in a position where you can't really solve them yourself, you can't take care of them yourself, having leverage, knowing where to go, knowing who to talk to. Because it's tough to really keep all the information in, but knowing who to talk to, who you could call. All right, like say it could be anything. It could be anything. Say it's not something that you familiar with, something that you didn't keep up with because you can only focus on so much anyway, but you know who you can go to solve that problem. That's leverage right there. But you don't want to be in a position where you can't solve anything. You don't have a job or you're not bringing in money. You have to go to some other people. And in this day and time with all these layoffs, that can be very tough. There are many people out there that are homeless because they couldn't solve that issue. Because as a sovereign man, first of all, you want to solve that issue. You want to have a place to live. You want to have a place to live. Like say your problem is you're homeless. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? How are you going to get in a position where you have a place to stay? I want you to think about that. I mean, that's basic. Or you having trouble with a car. I remember years ago, I didn't have a car, but I knew someone who had a car and I was able to purchase it from him. Now, I couldn't solve that problem by getting it right away. It was during a tough financial period, but I knew where I could go. And he gave me a very good deal on it. That's solving the problem. And whenever you have a problem, it's very powerful if you can solve it. You're not sitting around. There's a lot of people who are sitting around, they get caught up into something, and then they're just sitting there. They don't know what to do. You want to be in a position where if something comes up, you know what to do. And it don't have to be like right that second unless it's something that's happening right that second. But then you know what to do to solve that problem. You know where to go. You could say, oh, okay, I have this problem. Let me look this up. I'm going to tell you what, whenever I have problems, and it could be small, I don't get upset right away. I don't get upset. Like there was a time it was a fuse that blew. It was a fuse that blew, and I was plugging in something to a plug. It wasn't working, but I didn't get upset. I just checked everything. I say, oh, okay. For some reason, this fuse blew. Click, click, boom. It was on. Because so also being a man, a sovereign man who can solve problems, you don't get upset. You just sit there and say, okay, I have this issue. Let me think about it. Let me deal with this issue. Let me go and take care of it. And this is very powerful because as a sovereign man, you want to have as much control over your life as possible and then leverage in other areas. I will say that. I'm not talking about being some sovereign citizen or something like that. I am not doing that. Indeed, that's why I don't put sovereign man in the titles, because I was getting those things from YouTube saying, oh, this is what a sovereign citizen is. I was like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about as a man having as much control over your life. And having that control means that you can solve the problems that come up. And then if it's something that you can't solve directly, knowing where you can go, knowing the person. Or it might be, you might have to pick up the phone or go pick up the phone, look through it. I was gonna say yellow pages, that's showing my age. We don't even have them anymore, at least as far as I know. But going through and saying, okay, where can I find this? When I've had to look for something, look for different pieces, whatever I need, and it could be something small. We just go through the phone and say, oh, okay, it's right here, boom. I was able to solve that problem. I don't have problems a lot. I don't have problems a lot. Because one of the things with solving a problem is even putting yourself in a position where you don't have to deal with a problem. And I want you to think about that, because you're sovereign. You don't want to be dependent on other people any more than you need to be. Yeah, there's going to be some areas that you're going to be dependent. There's some areas you're going to have to ask somebody for help. But that's where leverage comes in. But for everything else, for as much as possible, you want to have control over what you do, where you live. And that's on many levels. You want to make sure that credit is good, make sure you bringing in money. If you get fired from a job, you want to have either that business or that skill level to immediately get another job. That's because that's a major problem. You want to be in position. You want to know people who can get stuff done for you if you can't do it directly. You want to do that. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. Being a problem solver is powerful. So that's all I have for today. I want you to rise to become the sovereign man that you are meant to be. All right? Peace and blessings, everyone.